What are the Olympics and why should esports be a part of it? These are a couple of questions that I'm going to be trying to delve into in this video. Welcome to Pathfinder Plays. Hit that subscribe button and hit that bell button so you never miss a video. So in order to accurately answer this question, I think we need to get some foundation of what the Olympics actually were and what they are today. So what they were was part of a religious festival made to honor Zeus by nude male athletes with no women competitors, and it went from the years 776 BC to 398 AD. And you're like, a lot of people don't know this. Yeah, Olympics haven't been around forever. You know, they took a 1500 year hiatus. They stopped existing until what was it, in 1896? That's important because the whole culture, the whole landscape was completely different. Traditions all gone. So that's traditional Olympics, literally traditional Olympics, right from its origination and its foundation. But now we have what I'm going to be calling modern Olympics, which is from 1896 till today. Some of the differences we have and some of the things that are most well known about the Olympics and some of the things that people call traditional Olympics are not really that traditional because they just came into existence within the past 100 years. Alright, so for one, we're no longer honoring Zeus. There are no nude athletes. Women are able to compete, however in the 1900s, the early 1900s, it was only restricted to golf and like tennis. The Olympic flame was inaugurated in 1928. That wasn't a traditional Olympic thing. The Olympic torch relay was instituted in 1936. That's not a traditional Olympic thing. The Olympic oath was added in 1920. That's not a traditional Olympic thing. Winter Games, the entire Winter Games, just throw that out, right? Because that's not traditional Olympic. There was no Winter Games in the original Olympics. That came by in 1924, for goodness sake. So all those sports in the winter that we have, all of that's not traditional. And then the actual Olympic flag was obviously created in 1908. The main reason why I'm saying that is because there's a distinct difference between what we have today and what they had at the foundation of the Olympics. All right, so we add things. That's the main point. Speaking of adding things, let's look at some sports we have added, things that we call sports, right? All right, because that's the topic. Or video games really sports? Well, let's look at this stuff. We have equestrian. That's right. Horse dancing. That's fantastic. That's a sport. Golf.
You've just been outdone.
Always be relied on when looking for some
Olympics aside, there's a lot of people who don't even consider golf a sport just because the sheer lack of movement and athleticism involved. Now, don't get me wrong, it involves athletic ability, right? But I don't think it merits the title athleticism. There's a difference. Lifting this. This is some physical ability right here. Swinging that club. Physical ability. Are you really going to put that on the same level of say, the 100-meter dash? Right? That everyone can agree that's athleticism. What about the long jump? Athleticism. Shot put. Javelin. High jump. All that, athleticism. But we have athleticism and then we have physical ability. So I think the proper terms should be physical ability and athletic ability, right? So the sports I just mentioned have both physical ability and athletic ability. However, like if we're looking at golf, it requires a physical ability, but I mean, in terms of athletic ability, I mean, right? Kind of, they don't even walk from hole to hole most of the time. They have mini cars that we call golf carts to ride them to and from. They go out of their way to make sure that they move as little as possible here. Come on, let's be realistic. What else do we got? All winter sports. All the winter sports, they are added. And some of those sports, I'll get into this a little bit later. The athleticism of some of these winter sports are rather questionable. And I'll show you why. Now you may be asking yourself, why are you bringing this stuff up, Pathfinder? Why are you talking about this? And the point's simple. Because the Olympic Games that we have today are not the same Olympics that we had at the beginning. It is drastically different from the original games, and they're adding modern sports every 4 years, and they have been. Tradition is not an argument that can be used to keep esports out of the Olympics, because as far as tradition goes, the only tradition that the Olympics has is the tradition of ever evolving. It's never stayed the same, not once. It's not static. The Olympics has always changed and added things and adjusted to the times. So why this is different all of a sudden is beyond me. One argument that may be used against the idea that esports should be in the Olympics is that of athleticism. And I've already touched on this a little bit, right? Physical ability and athletic ability. Now, it's true that the original Olympiads, they prided themselves on their physical ability and their physical athleticism and their physique. You know, they took pride in all of that. However, as I just covered, this ain't the traditional Olympics, guys. This is modern Olympics. Once again, I'm going to pick on golf. These guys have dad bods, bro. You talking about athleticism and athletic ability and physique and muscles? Most of these guys have better dad bods than most dads. So you're going to try to tell me that athleticism is required and physique and power and endurance is required to be in the Olympics, and yet we have stuff like golf in there right now. And like I already said, they take a car to and from different holes. They have a caddy to carry their stuff. You kidding me? They wear pants and polo. Like, give me a break, man. Oh yeah, the winter game thing that I told you about, the winter sport. Yeah, luge. Have you guys heard of this? Luge?
Virtually the same run each time.
You literally just lay down and you slide down a hill. That, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm sure it requires some reflexes to know when to do it right. I'm sure. But how on earth, if reflexes is the determining factor of what is and what is not a sport, how is that different from reflexes in a video game? You literally just lie there on luge and you just shift your body weight to and from. I do that every night while I'm trying to get comfortable to go to sleep. All right. You're not going fast. The object on you that you're laying on is going fast, and you're just going along for the ride. You literally just lay there while this thing carries you. And we're talking about athletic ability and athleticism. This is amazing. And then you have the argument that says it's not really a sport. It's a game. It's just a video game. That's wrong. That's wrong. I think at this point in time in history, I think it's safe to say that the terms sport and game are fairly interchangeable, and I'm going to tell you why. For instance, say you are at a tailgating party and you're drinking your waters and you're grilling your burgers and you're drinking your dirty water, also known as Coors or Bud Light, and your friend comes up to you and he says, "Yo, where are you guys going? What's going on?" Be like, "Oh, hey, we're going to a football game. We're going to a baseball game. We're going to a hockey game." All right, we all agree that these things are sports. However, we also title them as games. The Olympics. We don't call them the Olympic sports. We call them the Olympic Games. So my point being is, obviously, sport and game linguistically is different. However, in today's society and culture, we use them virtually interchangeably. And my main premise here is the fact that sports are just games that people take seriously. People take football seriously. No one denies it's a game. It's literally two teams going against each other to complete a certain goal. That's a game. What is that, Red Rover? Come on, like, give me a break, man. That's a stinking game. And I played football. I played football for 12 years. I understand. It's still a game. There's a lot of NFL players who will still say that they're getting paid millions of dollars to play a game. And that's fine. As long as we're willing to not be hypocrites about it and make these imaginary lines in the sand that don't need to be drawn in the first place. I will also say that esports and video gamers, they don't need the Olympics. Not at all. If anything, the Olympics would even be considering video games to be put in just to save their own skin. The views of the Olympics, and other physical sports for that matter, have been decreasing over the past few years, while video games viewings, esport viewings, have continued to go up. So there's tons of money in it, and there's tons of publicity in it. Another argument that's said is, well, why don't we just give them their own Olympics? Now, on the face value, that sounds rather plausible, right? Give the physical sports their own Olympics as they have now, and give us like some e-Olympics kind of thing, right? Well, the only problem with that is the fact that the competitors of the traditional Olympics, they want to survive and they want to keep doing the Olympics. So the problem with making two separate Olympics is the original Olympics, the traditional Olympics that we have today, will cease to exist if we make an e-Olympics. I'm going to say this for a couple reasons. Number one, the generational gap between those who grew up with this kind of Olympics and those who are doing the esports kind of stuff is starting to diminish. And what I mean by that is the fact that they're dying. The people, the diehard fans of the original Olympic times, they're passing on, and the people who are now older are also people like from like 30s to 40s. They played games growing up too, and a lot of them still do. My dad being one of them. Well, he's actually 50 now, but still, that just raises the gap even further. And so if you were to make two separate Olympics, the Olympic views are already dwindling. The NFL views are already dwindling. The physical sport views are already going away. Slowly. And they may go back up. I may be wrong about this. But they're already going away. And so if you were to add a direct competitor, right? And it can be the Olympics all at once, right? But if you're making esport Olympics and you're making traditional Olympics, they're competing for views. Who's going to get the more views? Who's going to take the dominant spot? And once everyone sees that having esports Olympics, which is already crushing in views and rising rapidly yearly, once they see that esports is just growing so fast and becoming like the centerpiece and not traditional Olympics, they're going to get rid of the original Olympics. And that's sad to me because I personally feel like javelin, shot put disc, because I did track in high school, which obviously I'm nowhere near the level. All right, I'm not trying to say I was anywhere. I'm not going to say I was good. I'm just saying I did it so I can appreciate the work involved, because it was strenuous. All right, it was really, really rough, and it would make me sad to see it go away. And so I guess like it's a life or death situation here. Will the Olympics die, or will they live? Their best chance at survival isn't making a separate Olympics for esports. Their best chance is to incorporate esports into their already formed system. In conclusion, people take video games very seriously. Gone are the days where video games was just for nerds, where video games was just for geeks, that these people had no lives, that these people were in their parents' basement and they didn't have girlfriends. There's plenty of streamers and esport gamers who have wives, who are having kids, and support their families and make a very decent livelihood off playing these games. Some of the most popular ones that I know of right now are obviously Ninja, making millions. He's the first esports gamer to be put on ESPN's cover. You have Tim the Tatman, married, is going to have a kid. He's not even an esports competitor. I mean, he does compete in tournaments, but his main gig is streaming. Entire industries are built off the foundation of video games. And video games were never meant to be just for kids. If you go back to the farthest reaches of video games, they were made for families. I know that's not necessarily relevant in the discussion, but whenever people say that video games are for kids and always have been, that's historically inaccurate. They've never been just for kids. They were made to bring families together. And they're still doing that today. It makes no sense to keep video games out of the Olympic Games, once again, whenever the only tradition that the Olympic Games has ever held to was the tradition of evolving continuously as time goes on. And guys, that is my take. That is Pathfinder's point of view, I guess you could say. Let me know if you agree with me. Let me know if you disagree with me. I want to start a respectable discussion. It's fine if you disagree. I just want to talk about it, get different points of view. This is what I think. I know this is kind of different from what I usually post on my channel, but I think it's worth mentioning. You know, if you guys enjoyed this video, leave it a thumbs up, give me a comment. Let's start a discussion. Tell me your thoughts, tell me your feelings. Tell me if you did any sports yourselves or if you ever got close to the Olympics. I would really want to know. If you're in esports at all, leave your comment down below because I really want to get opinions of people who have lived that life, so to speak. This was it. A bit more personal, a bit more opinionated than I usually try to get, but there it is. If you guys like scares, survival, and scavenging, check out my other videos, and I will see you guys in the next one. Pathfinder out.